On the night a billionaire's wife threatened to erase a black waitress's life with a single phone call, the entire restaurant went silent. Crystal glasses froze mid-air, forks hovered above porcelain plates. And for the first time in years, fear didn't win. She said it calmly, almost kindly. "Sit, or I buy this place by Monday and turn it into a parking garage." Everyone expected the waitress to break, to apologize, to disappear like the others. She didn't. She looked the woman in the eye and replied, "You're right about one thing. I'm very good at my job. And I know you're not who you say you are." In that moment, power shifted. This is not a story about soup or fine dining. It's a story about race, silence, and what happens when someone the world looks down on refuses to stay quiet. Watch closely, because the truth that followed destroyed a carefully built empire. On Friday nights, Chicago's elite didn't need to check the reservation book to know who was coming. They could feel it before the doors even opened. A subtle tightening in the air, a silence that fell too fast, a fear that moved quicker than whispers. Her name was Catherine Holloway. At the Ivory Crown, one of the most exclusive fine dining restaurants in downtown Chicago, Catherine wasn't just a customer. She was a force. The wife of tech billionaire Jonathan Holloway, she arrived every Friday at exactly 8 o'clock, dressed in immaculate designer black, diamonds catching the light like tiny knives. People said her taste decided careers. Others said her temper ended them. For years, no one dared to challenge her. Not the managers, not the chefs, not the waitstaff who lived paycheck to paycheck and knew one complaint from her could erase their future. Catherine didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her cruelty was quieter, colder. A glance, a pause, a sentence spoken slowly enough to make everyone listening feel small. "She makes people disappear," some servers whispered, and sometimes she smiled while doing it. That night, Naomi Carter stood in the staff hallway, adjusting the collar of her uniform, her fingers trembling just slightly. She noticed it and forced them still. Naomi was 33, black, and exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. 3 months earlier, she'd been an investigative researcher, the kind who stayed up until sunrise chasing patterns others missed. But when her department was shut down, integrity didn't pay rent. Now she carried plates instead of questions. Samuel Brooks noticed her hesitation. "First week?" he asked quietly. Naomi nodded. Samuel had worked at the Ivory Crown for nearly 2 decades. He was black too, his posture still dignified despite years of silent endurance. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "See that corner booth?" he said. "That's hers." Naomi followed his gaze. "That woman will look at you like you don't belong in the room," Samuel continued. "Not just because you serve her, but because of who you are." Naomi swallowed. "Is she really that bad?" Samuel didn't answer right away. Instead, he said, "Last month, she got a kid fired because his sleeve passed over her plate. Didn't touch it. Didn't even come close." Naomi frowned. "That's it?" Samuel's eyes hardened. "That's always it." At 8 sharp, Catherine Holloway entered. Conversation stopped. Chairs straightened, backs stiffened. Jonathan Holloway walked beside her, tall, polished, and strangely distant, like a man already apologizing for something he hadn't stopped. Naomi was assigned nearby, close enough to hear, close enough to see. Catherine sent back her wine for being uninspired, complained that the lighting made her husband look old, corrected a server's pronunciation of a French word she herself pronounced wrong. Then it happened. A young server, Ethan Miller, was working the adjacent table. As he leaned forward, his sleeve hovered, just for a fraction of a second, over Catherine's bread plate. Her reaction was immediate. "Excuse me." 2 words. That was all. Ethan froze. "Do you see what you've done?" Catherine asked calmly. "Your sleeve passed over my food. It's contaminated." The manager rushed over, apologizing. Ethan's face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Catherine pushed her plate away with one finger. "I've lost my appetite." The silence was heavy. Naomi felt it press against her chest. This wasn't about food. It never was. This was power. Ethan was dismissed before dessert was served. As he walked toward the staff exit, his shoulders shaking, Catherine watched and smiled. Something inside Naomi cracked. Not loudly, not visibly, but deeply. A week later, fate placed Naomi directly in Catherine Holloway's path. The server assigned to Catherine's table called in sick. The manager scanned the room, dread written across his face. "Carter," he said, "you're calm under pressure." Samuel shook his head slightly, warning her. Naomi nodded anyway. "Yes, sir." She prepared like it was battle, memorized every preference, every rule Catherine had invented. When she approached the table, her voice was steady. "Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Holloway. My name is Naomi. I'll be taking care of you tonight." Catherine's eyes swept over her, lingering, assessing. She didn't respond. The service was flawless. Perfect timing, perfect presentation. For a moment, Naomi allowed herself to breathe. Then Catherine ordered soup. When Naomi placed the steaming bowl in front of her, Catherine stared at it. Then she dipped her spoon in, lifted it halfway, and stopped. "It's cold," Catherine announced. Naomi blinked. She'd seen the steam herself. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Holloway," she said evenly. "I'll replace it immediately." Catherine's hand slammed down on the bowl. "No, the moment is ruined." She turned to her husband. "You see this? Standards are falling." Jonathan sighed. "It's just soup." "It's never just soup," Catherine snapped, then turned back to Naomi. "What did you say your name was?" "Naomi." Catherine repeated it slowly. "Naomi." There was something sharp in the way she said it, something old. "I suggest you learn the difference between hot and cold," Catherine said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "If you expect to last." Naomi felt every eye on her. This was the part where people broke. She didn't. "I understand," Naomi replied calmly. "Thank you for the feedback." She took the bowl and walked away. Behind her, Catherine's lips tightened. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. That night, Jonathan slipped Naomi a folded bill as they left. He didn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry," he murmured. Naomi watched them go. It wasn't stress. It was something else, something buried. And Naomi Carter had built her entire career finding what powerful people tried to hide. Curiosity replaced fear. And for someone like Catherine Holloway, that was far more dangerous. Because curiosity asks questions, and questions change everything. Leading question for the audience. What if the person you look down on is the one who sees you most clearly? Should courage come before comfort, even when the risk is everything? Yes or no? The first thing Naomi Carter learned about power was that it hated being questioned. After the soup incident, Catherine Holloway didn't scream, didn't complain, didn't demand Naomi be fired. That silence was worse. It was deliberate, calculated, like a predator stepping back just far enough to decide where to strike next. Naomi felt it every time she walked the floor at the Ivory Crown. Catherine's eyes followed her now. Not openly, not obviously, but enough. And Naomi understood something most people never did until it was too late. This wasn't over. It had only begun. For Catherine Holloway, humiliation wasn't a moment, it was a ritual, and Naomi had interrupted it. The restaurant staff noticed the shift too. Samuel Brooks leaned beside Naomi one slow afternoon while polishing silverware. "You rattled her," he said quietly. Naomi didn't look up. "Good." Samuel's expression was cautious. "People like her don't forget that." "I know," Naomi replied, and she meant it. Because at night, in her small apartment on the south side, Naomi wasn't sleeping. She was researching. She started where she always did. Patterns. Catherine's cruelty wasn't random. Naomi replayed moments in her head. Who Catherine targeted. How she spoke. When she exploded. It wasn't just about mistakes, or service, or standards. It was about control. And more than that, it was about who she felt threatened by. The black servers were watched more closely, corrected more harshly, given fewer second chances. Naomi remembered the way Catherine had said her name, slowly, like it didn't belong in her mouth. That wasn't coincidence. That was fear wearing perfume. Naomi listened in the staff room. Servers talked when they thought no one was collecting their words. "She made me change my lipstick in the middle of service," one hostess said it was inappropriate. "I cried in the bathroom." "She accused me of hovering over her like I was dangerous," another whispered. "I was standing 3 feet away." Every story carried the same weight. shame, silence, powerlessness. Naomi wrote everything down. She asked Samuel what Catherine had been like years ago. Different, he said after a long pause. Nervous, always watching other people, copying them. Copying? Naomi asked. Samuel nodded. How they held their forks, how they spoke, like she was afraid of being exposed. That night, Naomi went deeper. Public records first. Charity events, old articles about Jonathan Holloway's engagement. Everything painted the same flawless picture. Wealthy background, private education, quiet elegance. Too perfect. Naomi knew lies often came wrapped like gifts. She searched images, ran reverse searches, followed digital dust most people missed. Then she found it, an old, nearly forgotten website from the early 2000s. Grainy photos, broken links, and there she was, younger, louder, sharper around the edges. The face was unmistakable. The name beneath it was not Catherine Holloway, it was Kayla Monroe. Naomi's breath caught. She clicked through forums, archived videos, old reality television clips filmed at a rundown racetrack in Indiana. Kayla Monroe shouting at another contestant, crying when she lost, mocked for her accent, her clothes, her desperation, a working-class girl who had wanted out so badly she'd burned her past to ash. Naomi leaned back, heart pounding. Catherine Holloway had built an empire on erasing Kayla Monroe, and every black server she humiliated was a reminder of who she used to be. Someone judged, someone dismissed, someone she was terrified of becoming again. The next Friday night, Catherine arrived alone. No Jonathan, no diamonds, just a sharp black suit and eyes like glass. She didn't wait to be seated. She walked straight toward Naomi. Sit, Catherine said softly. Naomi hesitated. Servers didn't sit. Sit, Catherine repeated, or I buy this place and turn it into a parking garage by Monday. Naomi sat. Catherine leaned forward. I know who you are, she said. I know about your past, your debt, your failed career. Naomi listened. I will make sure you never work again, Catherine continued. I will tell people you're unstable, a liar, a thief. She smiled thinly. You think being calm makes you strong. It doesn't. Naomi met her gaze. You're right about one thing. Catherine paused. I am very good at my job, Naomi said, and I know you're not who you say you are. The color drained from Catherine's face. I know about Kayla Monroe, Naomi continued quietly, about the show, about the footage that never aired. For the first time, Catherine's mask cracked. You don't know anything, she hissed. I know enough, Naomi replied, and I know why you hate people who remind you of who you were. The silence between them was electric. Naomi didn't threaten, didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Leave us alone, Naomi said, all of us, or the truth follows you. Catherine stood slowly. Hatred burned in her eyes, but beneath it was something worse. Fear. She walked out without a word, and the room exhaled. But Naomi knew this wasn't the end. People like Catherine Holloway didn't fall quietly. They dragged everything down with them, and Naomi Carter was standing directly in the path of the collapse. For a week after Catherine Holloway walked out of the Ivory Crown, the restaurant felt like a place waking up after a long illness. People spoke louder, laughed more freely, servers stood a little straighter. For the first time in years, Friday nights no longer came with a knot of fear in everyone's stomach. But Naomi Carter knew better than to believe silence meant peace. People like Catherine didn't disappear. They retreated, and when they came back, they came armed. The first sign arrived on a Tuesday morning. Naomi was called into the manager's office. Richard Lawson sat stiffly behind his desk, papers spread out like evidence. There's been a complaint, he said carefully. Naomi nodded. From her. Richard didn't deny it. She claims you threatened her, that you attempted to blackmail her. Naomi felt the familiar burn of injustice rise in her chest. Not panic, not fear, recognition. This was the playbook. She has lawyers, Richard continued, very good ones. I have the truth, Naomi replied calmly. Richard studied her. Do you? Naomi met his eyes. Yes. That afternoon, Catherine Holloway's name appeared in whispers again, but something was different. The fear didn't spread the way it used to, because Naomi wasn't alone. Samuel Brooks stood beside her when the rumors started. "Whatever happened," he said, "you didn't just do this for yourself." Other servers nodded. People Catherine had humiliated, silenced, erased. People who had been told their dignity was worth less than her comfort. Naomi realized something powerful then. Courage multiplied when it was witnessed. That night, Jonathan Holloway called. His voice was tired, older than his years. "She told me everything," he said quietly, "her version of it." Naomi didn't interrupt. "She said you threatened to destroy her," Jonathan continued, "but I've lived with Catherine long enough to hear the gaps." There was a long pause. "I knew she was cruel," he admitted. I told myself it wasn't my place to stop her." Naomi closed her eyes. "It was." "I know," Jonathan said, "and that's why I'm calling. I want the truth." Naomi didn't gloat, didn't accuse. She simply spoke. She told him about Kayla Monroe, about the show, about the fear that had turned into cruelty, about the people Catherine hurt to feel powerful. When she finished, Jonathan exhaled slowly. "I'm filing for divorce," he said. Naomi didn't feel victory. She felt relief. Catherine Holloway never returned to the Ivory Crown. Instead, the story found its way into the world the way truth always does. Quietly, relentlessly. A journalist contacted Naomi, then another. The footage Catherine had buried resurfaced. The narrative cracked. The perfect image fractured. People began asking questions Catherine had avoided her entire life. Why did she treat staff the way she did? Why were her charity foundations so selective? Why had so many people been silenced? Catherine retreated from public life, not in disgrace, but in exposure. And for someone like her, that was worse. Naomi expected retaliation, lawsuits, threats. They never came. Because once the mask fell, Catherine Holloway no longer had power. She had history, and history doesn't bend to intimidation. 3 months later, Naomi stood in a small office overlooking downtown Chicago. The sign on the door read, "Reynolds Private Investigations." Marcus Reynolds, the firm's founder, leaned back in his chair. "I watched you that night," he said. "The way you held your ground." Naomi smiled faintly. "I didn't plan to." "You didn't need to," Marcus replied. "You understand power, and more importantly, you understand people." He slid a folder across the desk. "Lead investigator." Naomi stared at it. She thought of the uniform she used to wear, of the silence she'd refused to accept, of the way Catherine had said her name like it didn't belong. She signed. Naomi didn't forget the Ivory Crown. She still visited, still sat with Samuel after hours, sharing quiet laughter over coffee. The restaurant thrived, new management, new standards, not of fear but of respect. One evening, Ethan Miller stopped by, the young server Catherine had humiliated months ago. "I got into school," he said, smiling nervously. "I wanted to thank you." Naomi shook her head. "You did that." "No," he replied. "You reminded me I wasn't invisible." That stayed with her, because that was the heart of it all. Racism, classism, abuse of power, they all fed on the same lie, that some people mattered less. Naomi had refused that lie. She hadn't shouted, hadn't humiliated Catherine the way Catherine humiliated others. She had simply refused to be small, and in doing so, she gave others permission to stand. Months later, Naomi passed the Ivory Crown on a Friday night. The windows glowed warm. Laughter spilled into the street. She didn't stop. She didn't need to. The story wasn't about Catherine Holloway anymore. It was about what happens when someone chooses dignity over fear, when silence breaks, when truth speaks. Because you don't have to be rich to be powerful, you don't have to be loud to be brave, and you don't have to belong to the room to change it. Sometimes all it takes is one person who refuses to look away. Before you go, let me ask you something. How did this story make you feel? Did Naomi do the right thing by standing up, yes or no? Do you believe stories like this still happen today, yes or no? If this story moved you, please comment 111 below. Tell us which country you're watching from. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, please share this video with someone who needs it, because courage is contagious.